In this video I'm going to show you the path blur. It's a new feature that's set in the blur gallery with Photoshop CC 2014. I'm not going to show every single feature because it's one of those really complicated and maybe very subtle plugins that's got lots of features and you can use them in different ways, and I'm certain everyone's discovering new ways of using them. So you can use them with selections, or you could use it with the whole document. So you can use it across layers and loads of things like that. So this is only just a few steps. I'm going to probably do other videos as I find more features myself with the tool. So first thing to do, and I've created some dots here, so just to show a sort of grid instead of actually using an image, I'm just going to use some dots just to show the effect of the path. Now, first thing first, it gives you a path. Now, personally, I don't like that. I actually get rid of it just by pressing the delete key. Just get rid of that, and I just create my own. So I can just quickly go up there and double click it to finish off the thing. Okay, first thing to do is show you the speed. So you've got speed there. So I'm just going to increase the speed a little bit. And if I go to the top one there, you can see the endpoint speed is 23, and down here the endpoint speed 24, basically the same. So virtually, and I'm going to hold now, you can hold the CMD, which is or the control on the PC, and you can hold that and you can move that around, and you will see very little change because there is no difference between the endpoint speeds at the top and the bottom. Now, what I can do, I can actually just go there, and I'm just going to increase it just slightly, 64, not too much, so it slows it down, because always with these tutorials, it always seems to the machine slows down when you're recording, so obviously it's just, but normally it's quite quick otherwise. And you go to the top one, and I'm going to set that down to 0. Don't want that. So there's still some blur. So if you actually set both to 0, you would end up with no blur at all. So one has to be at least some value. That's the key thing. Now hold the command key down. So just hold that, and you can move it around. So when that one that's the 0, which is the top one, goes over this central point, you can see the blur actually just reduces down to virtually nothing. Not exactly nothing, but certainly you can see a slight blur. Obviously, it's probably, if I get exactly in the centre, it will probably go down to 0, but I can't. So, and you can just see it moving around, and you can go up now. Now, if you go increase that a little bit more, you can see it maybe the speed a bit more. You can actually see even more pronounced. Command, and you can go and you can see that goes back down again, not exactly to 0, but it's certainly there is an influence obviously with this when it's such a high setting in the other one. So you can actually just pass over, and you will see it subtly change as you just go over. And obviously the speed of the processor that's shown during this tutorial doesn't give it such an impact, so I might reduce the speed down a little bit. You can just see it keep changing, and you can move that around, of course. And of course, if you want to, you can actually introduce, and next thing to do, right, this is not why there's lots and lots of features with this that's impossible to show it all in one single video. I'm just going to move that around, and when you move that around, you can actually obviously change in the angle, and you can see the direction goes off in the direction, so you can just keep moving it around. So if you decide to go that direction, now another thing with this path is you can actually add points to it. So you can just click it, and then you can curve it. So you've got a curve there, and you see the curve again for that influence, that area of influence. You can actually see it changing. Hold the command down again. I can actually go along, and you can see it curve all the way along there, and obviously these parts suddenly go straight again. So as the influence wanes, you can actually just see it, and you go around, go backwards and forwards, and go down there, and you can see the curve, the effect. Right, so this is, and you can obviously go the other direction, and you can add more points as well, so you can make some really quite weird and wonderful distorted shapes. You can actually twist that area quite And it's quite dramatic if you say like got text or some other imagery. Of course, you can create some very dramatic. I don't know how many points you can actually add to it. It probably gets slower and slower as you add more and more points. I don't know. And you can see as you move that around, it modifies the general direction of the blur. Okay, well, I'm going to get rid of that now because I don't want that. You can delete each of the points, so you just go over that point, delete that point, select it, delete, and that point, delete. Okay, back to a straight line. You can, if you go over somewhere else, don't obviously go over the path so it doesn't add a point, you can actually add another. So just going to click there, double click, or you can just obviously create a more complicated path, double click at that point. And you can do the same thing as well. And again, you can just go over there and just see what settings. They've got endpoint speed 24, endpoint 24. Now if you set that down to 0 again you can see now the influence command key, and you can see the influence, so that goes down to 0 and it blurs more when the endpoint speed of 24 goes over that area. And of course you can increase the speed. Right, and okay, so that's those sort of basic settings for this, and there's lots of, like I say, other features. You can also show the endpoint shapes and edit the blur shapes. You actually see these little, and you can modify, twist and turn, modify, and you can actually create some pretty weird shapes. And let's say blur them out, drag them out, and you can just drag it out that direction as well. Sometimes it actually goes out, whizzes out like that. I've actually had it where it sort of distorts very badly. Right, well, I'm going to cover that properly more in another tutorial, but that's the basic sort of settings with the path blur. It's one of those filters that's, I think, is just going to be really, really useful in many different projects. So and think that many things that might be possible with it, which I will be exploring over the next couple of months, I'm certain. Thank you much.